So far you've learned how to calculate the surface area of every side of a 3D shape. But for some problems, we won't need the surface area of every side, but only some select sides. It's going to depend on the situation. You may not need every side of a shape to solve a problem. For example, you might need to line 4 walls of a room with wallpaper, but not the floor or the ceiling, obviously. So when you go to calculate the surface area that needs wallpaper, you're going to have to adjust your surface area formula. Let's do an example here. A recording studio needs to line the walls of a 7.5 foot by 9 foot sound booth with noise absorbing material. The room has 10-foot high ceilings. We have to calculate the square feet of noise absorbing material needed. So with a question like this, it always helps to have a sketch. So the first thing we're going to do is, because we've been given this prism, we don't have to sketch that part, but we can label the sides of the prism. So we're told the recording studio or the sound booth is 7.5 feet by 9 feet. So the shorter of these sides of the room have to be 7.5 feet. So I'll write it as 7.5 feet, thinking that if I'm going to have to do a calculation with this, it'll be easier to have it as a decimal. And then that other dimension along the bottom of the room has to be 9 feet long. Lastly, we're told that the room has 10-foot high ceilings, so I'll label that height of the prism to be 10 feet high. And while we're doing this, I'm going to also label these sides with a letter, my length, width, and height. So the longer side I often make length, so I'll call that L. The shorter side along the bottom I'll call that W, and the height of the room is H. And the helpful part of doing that is now I'm going to go to my surface area formula and I'm going to see what parts I need and what parts I don't need. So from my formula sheet, I go find the surface area of a rectangular prism, and it's 2, and then times some things in a bracket. WH plus LW plus LH. So 2 times the width times the height plus the length times the width plus the length times the height. Now that would calculate the surface area of all 6 sides of a rectangular prism, and I only need the 4 walls around the outside and not the ceiling or the floor. So how do I get rid of the area from the ceiling or the floor? Well, you can notice from our picture that the ceiling and the floor are both width by length, 7.5 by 9 feet in dimensions. So here in our surface area formula is the length times the width. That's the area of the bottom and the top. So the 2 outside the surface area formula is accounting that we have 2 of each of these sides, or pairs of sides. So by getting rid of this length times width part of the formula, I'm eliminating the area of the floor of the room and the ceiling of the room in the formula. So now I can go ahead and calculate the surface area of just the 4 walls using 2 times WH plus LH. So let's go ahead and throw in those numbers to do that. 2 times W is 7.5 times H is 10 feet plus L is 9 feet times H is 10 feet. And you can do this in a couple of steps, or you can do it all at once. So just putting together everything that's in the brackets, I get 2 times 165, which is a total of 330 square feet. And so there's my surface area that needs to be covered by that material.